In this Solidity smart contract vulnerability video, we'll be covering floating points and precision. So one really interesting thing about Solidity, and this says as the time of writing Solidity 04.24, but from what I saw even today, several years after this, I think this article was released in 2018, as far as I can tell, still to the case today is that this still holds true that Solidity actually does not have any floating point numbers. It's not an actual data type. So there's been many workarounds to basically have floating point numbers in the language. And I'm sure nowadays, if you want to do it, there's probably several libraries that you could pull in to do that. And it'll actually name drop a few of those here towards the end of this section here. We'll get to that. But yeah, this can cause some pretty weird behavior, most certainly. And if you look at this example vulnerability here, you can see, one such case of that. So here, all of the variables that are numbers are being just specified with uint. And there's different lengths of uint that you can specify, like uint 256 and things like that. Here they're just using the default size. And so in this case, it's not going to be very precise. And here they're actually dealing with 1 e to the 18th. So this is a scientific notation number here even. So this is going to have the issue of lack of precision is actually going to come into play here. And that's basically what they explain, is that it's always going to round down. If you've ever dealt with integers in other programming languages, you'll understand why, right? Because when you have an int and you're trying to deal with it as if it's a float, what you're going to find is that it's not going to round it. For one thing, it's going to round the number, but not in the way you might expect. It's going to round everything down. So the issue here is if you have a value of less than 1 ether, no matter how close to 1 ether it is, it will result in 0. And obviously that's going to have pretty major effects on the code, right? And on the sell function, right, anything less than 10 will be 0. So here, if you try to sell 29 tokens, it'll result in 2 ether. So obviously that's going to be quite a bit different than you might expect. So issue with this contract, precision is only to the nearest ether, which is actually 1 E18 way. So this can get tricky when dealing with decimals and ERC20 tokens when you need higher precision. So the preventive techniques for this, basically you want to be using the highest precision you can and only going to the lower precisions when you know for sure that you can. So that's like what you do last. You do all your calculations in the highest precision to maintain as much of the data as possible. And I mean, this is something that you will see across like the scientific fields as well, mathematics. This is best practice pretty much across the board. That's what you're going to want to do. So there are some interesting little nuances here, is that you want to keep the order of operations in mind. So you want to do multiplication before division when it comes to maintaining that precision for as long as possible. That was something that I wasn't really aware of, actually. And yeah, so ensure any ratios or rates you're using allow for large numerators in the fractions. So if you in the example above, we did tokens per ETH, and it would have been better to do way per tokens, right? That'd be a larger value, so it would maintain more of the precision since we have to use integers. So typically we'll see uint 256 are used because of the optimal gas usage. So that'll give about 60 order of magnitude in that range, and some can be dedicated to the precision of mathematical operations. So yeah, like I said, you just want to keep it to the highest precisions. And there was a pretty cool trick, right? If you look at this here, it says it may be the case that it's better to keep all variables in high precision and solidity and convert back to lower precisions in the external apps. This is essentially how decimal variables work in ERC20 token contracts. And you can see some examples of this done in the MakerDAO DS Math library. I'm sure there's a lot of other ones as well now, but as of that time, this was one of the big ones, and they actually use this trick. And obviously, you know, if you can just use a math library, that will be the way to go. But it's kind of good to understand how this stuff is working behind the scenes and what are the potential vulnerabilities or at least oddities that might not make your code behave as intended. So as far as a real world example, you know, you said you couldn't find any particular vulnerability with this, though some pretty likely exist out there. But looks like there is this article here as well. Ethereum contracts are going to be candy for hackers. This one was written way back in 2016, right? So it has some examples of various math-related vulnerabilities, it looks like. Well, just bugs in general, perhaps. But, yeah, not too much to this one. Now, in the next video, this will be the last one in this series. Took us quite a while, but we really took our time with this. And now we'll be doing the TX origin authentication in the next video. Right after that, we can get started going hands-on and you know, attacking these contracts, maybe writing up some vulnerable ones and exploiting them on the test net. Probably most definitely starting out with you know, some of the CTF challenges that we found on that one site for smart contracts. So that'll be pretty interesting. So yeah, definitely stick around for that. But in the meantime, go ahead and check out the videos on screen right now if you want to get caught up on this playlist. You know, all the videos up until this point. And I'll see you guys right over there. But go ahead and hit the subscribe button and like the video as well to help me out on the algorithms. And yeah, I'll see you guys over in those videos. Thanks for watching.